speaker and speakers.
So I think I think I've got an introduction that will at least get it oriented on who these people are. Some of you know I was retired and went back to work for FIS 4 years ago, and I'm working for them as they sponsor an accelerator for new companies in the fintech arena. And some of you probably know who FIS is, but you might not realize that they really are a global leader, and probably the global leader in financial technology. They have over 20,000 clients. 20,000 clients in 130 companies. Their revenue is over 12 billion now. They have over 50,000 employees.
FIS is over 12 billion?
12 billion, yeah, with the WorldPay acquisition.
That's only 120 million if you take inflation.
Yeah,
right. That's $1963.
Exactly, right. And they have 1,200 employees actually in Little Rock, and the CEO is Gary Norcross, who is from Arkansas and a member of this academy and has been here before, made talks and so forth. So that's who FIS is. But more interesting for us, I think, in this context is where did it come from? Why is it what it is? And the answer is it came from a startup from Little Rock, Arkansas called Systematics. And so the better question now is, where did Systematics come from? And today we're fortunate to have two people with us who were involved in that startup, and I think we could actually make the case that these are the guys who did it. So these are the people who really started the thing, Jon Jacoby and Bud Perry. So Jon is now the chairman and president of Jacoby Enterprises, which is some diversified investments in equities, public and private equities, as well as real estate and ranching. That's what he is now. But in the context of Systematics, he is retired as the vice chairman and senior managing director at Stephens. He actually was part of Stephens' organization for 53 years. He was originally hired as an investment analyst by Jack Stephens in June of '63 directly out of Harvard Business School. Prior to that, he's undergraduate at Notre Dame. But he was the primary representative of the Stephens family in a number of their transactions over the years, including the formation of Systematics, the merger of Systematics into Alltel in 1991, the sale of Union Life Insurance to the Hunt interests in 1981, the acquisition and sale of Leisure Arts to Time Warner in 1992. A lot of transactions that these guys were involved in, and Jon was the primary representative. And what he does, I'm going to read a statement from your bio. He creates financial structures to accommodate the needs of all parties to a transaction as the basis of an ongoing partnership dedicated to value creation. Now,
I did not make a pompous statement.
I'm sure you didn't, but frankly, that is an honest statement. This really is what Jon can do. He's a creative guy and has done a tremendous amount of work that has created value around the world, but certainly in Central Arkansas. Bud he's retired and manages his real estate investments. Lives in Russellville now. He's originally from Jacksonville, Arkansas, went to school at UT Arlington, and he was president and owner of Datamatic Services in Little Rock for about an 11-year period from 81 to 92. But more important to this discussion, prior to that, he worked in data processing. Some of you know what data processing is, and in the insurance world. And he was director of data processing and an assistant VP for Union Life Insurance Company from 64 to 68. And that really is part of the origin of Systematics. So please welcome our good friends and some important guys, Jon Jacoby and Bud Perry.
Well, Bud, you were doing all this stuff before I came in and interrupted your business at Union Life.
Can you guys hear okay, or do you want them to have a mic?
And if I don't speak loud enough, just say something.
If it works.
I can speak loud.
Try that.
No. Can I speak loud enough? Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? Good. Yeah.
If you talk like that.
Yeah.
Would you like for me to kick off? Well, sure. I knew nothing about data processing. But let me give you an idea of where I came from. I was working at Rio Grande National Life Insurance Company in Dallas, Texas. And in 1964, I decided that I wanted to come back to Arkansas. So I answered an ad in the Dallas Morning News for a technical person in Little Rock. So I called the number. I got a man from Union Life Insurance Company. And for you that don't know, Union Life Insurance Company was owned by the Stevens Group. On March the 1st, 1964, I went to work for Union Life Insurance Company and installed a 1440 computer. And in 1967, that was the first time I met Jon Jacoby. It was early in '67. We had completely converted all of the applications at Union Life, and we'd been working on all of the Stevens companies, which were quite a few at that time. We did payrolls, general ledgers, bond portfolios, you name it, we did it. And when I met Jon, he was interested in what we were doing at Union Life Insurance. We had a lot of computer time, so we were doing anything we could. And I started bugging Jon about Stevens Inc. starting a company. And we talked, and he had lots of questions, as he usually does. And in the middle of 1967, I was teaching a programming course at First Pyramid Life Insurance Company in Little Rock, and Jon showed up, and he was interested in still what we were doing. We talked about computers, and talked about applications and different things. So the rest of 1967, we had maybe a couple of conversations. And then in early 1968, he called and said he had two men that were from California, and they were interested in selling us a computer, and they were also interested in going to work if we started a new company. So he asked me if I'd like to visit with them, and of course I did. The computer they were selling was Scientific Data Systems, a Sigma 7, if any of you know what that was. But they said it was compatible with IBM's 1440. But anyway, we talked to them. About 2 weeks later, they invited us to Los Angeles, California, and Jon and I flew out, and I actually took a program to see if their computer was compatible with the 1440. You may remember that. I remember. Anyway, they tried it, never could get it to run. So that was the end of the compatibility phase. We did talk to them, and there again, they were wanting to go to work real bad for a new company. So anyway, Jon flew back to Little Rock. I flew on to New Jersey to look at RCA. RCA had a computer that said they were compatible with IBM 1440. I took the same program. It actually did much better on RCA's computer. But if you don't know, back in those days, General Electric was making a computer, NCR, Burroughs, RCA, Sigma 7. You know, I bet you somebody in here has run one of those computers. Anyway, that was my last contact with John until, well, we did talk on the phone. And the reason I know this, I took a few notes. And not detailed notes, but a few notes. And I had timelines. But we talked on the phone, and then in the summer of 1968, I got a call from John, and John said, I would like for you to interview this guy from Fayetteville, Arkansas, named Walter Smiley. And anyway, Walter came, and I talked to Walter, and very impressed. Let me go right back a little bit. My contacts in Little Rock were very good because I was in the data processing organization. I was in a lot of business groups. And there were a lot of talk in Little Rock for a period of time about data processing companies, the banks especially. There was a guy called Martin at Union Bank in Little Rock. There was a guy called Neil Hart at First National Bank in Little Rock. Every time I talked to them, they needed software. The software for banks were terrible. So anyway, that's how, we got to know each other. Actually, I will tell you this. John asked me one time in our conversation, he asked me, he said, Bud, would you like to head up a company? I thought of a good answer. I said, John, I'm not experienced enough to do that. I don't have any marketing skills. And we need somebody that probably, would fit that bill. So that's the reason, and that's, that I didn't even attempt to that. I knew I could contribute, which I did for 13 years. And then I left, and that really is my story at this point in time. And so,
yeah. Well, that sounds pretty good. That brings back some memories. I've forgotten most of this stuff. But I forget everything.
I can tell you.
Past last Thursday. At the time, somewhere around about 1965, IBM came out with this. It was sometime in there, 66. They came out with the 1401 computer. If the name's wrong, everything is fine. But there was also, IBM had a strange setup in which they tended to want to do short-term leases at high prices. Uneconomic prices, I might add. So, it looked to us like, there was an opportunity for companies to buy IBM computers because the purchase price, it was designed, IBM wanted to sell computers, but they also wanted to sell you more computer power than you could possibly use. The bigger the computer, the better, as far as they were concerned. And so there was this opportunity, recognized that we had some guy from New York came in and wanted to start a company called Randolph Computer, which we were an original investor in, and this might have been like 65. At that time, you could buy computers, lease them at cheaper than IBM was on a longer term lease, and make a lot of money. And so we put up, I remember, $400,000. I can't remember. We put up a piece of money into Randolph Computer, and so at the same time, the computer leasing was going very well, and I kind of told Jack Stevens, we ought to look around at computer service companies, because what we're looking at the computer leasing business, it made sense to take a computer and serve multiple customers. So along the way, we started 3 companies. Bud's giving me the history of how Systematic got going, but we started one called Computer. What was it called? I wrote it down. Not Randolph Computer. Remote Computing Corporation. And it was in a remote place, Los Angeles. And I wish the hell it had been in Hawaii, somewhere around it. So, and we started another company called Dialogue Computing in Connecticut. So around the same time we started, and then we spun the Union Life computer department out, and Farm One became Systematics. But remote computing, they took a little, they ran on Burroughs computers, and they took a little while to go broke, lost money there. Dialogue computing was really worse, it took longer to go broke, and a lot of effort went into that. And then we, started Systematics here, and it was, from a conversation with Bud, and it was really Walter Smiley, who said, well, we ought to focus on, it was my great idea, was we ought to do business with everybody. And Walter said, all these banks have a common need. Why don't we focus on banks? And it turned out to be a good idea. So, that's my whole business career. I usually put it around in mud and muck until something good happened. And then occasionally it did, but not all the time. So, that's how, anyway, when Walter came in, we had Bud, the Union Life, and I think I can't remember, it was Hunter Gamble, might have been the first person to say you ought to talk to this Walter Smiley up in Fayetteville. But anyway, we wound up getting Walter to set up this company, said serve businesses in Arkansas and banks, and actually my total contribution was I thought of the name Systematics. I said, what do we got? We've got to do something kind of catchy. And that was my most significant contribution. But Hunter and Jim Gaddis, who were instrumental in building it, I never can forget them because they were wonderful, wonderful men who are no longer with us. Anyway, that's kind of how, our goal was pretty simple. I want to make some money, which has been my general thrust in life. And the best way to do that is to help other people succeed. And I've been lucky enough to be involved in a number of companies that did pretty well over time. Systematics being one of them, which has evolved into how many people? At FIS?
Over 50,000 now.
What the hell do 50,000 people do?
Well, that's probably a very good question. Maybe it shouldn't be that many, but.
How would it be 50,000 people?
Yeah.
John, I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can. Yes.
I would like to know a little bit about your interaction with Jack Stevens during this process.
Well, Jack was really great. He didn't say a lot, which was convenient. But he was a thoughtful person, and originally, but after talking with Bud and seeing what was going on in the computer business and the evolution of computer power I told Jack, we ought to spin this computer out of Union Life and serve all of our businesses around, as well as see if we can, build a company out of it. And he said, okay, no more. And so I went on my merry way doing whatever I was doing at the time. And about a year later, he says, John, let's start that computer company. We had a conversation about it, and so I said, oh, okay, well, first of all, let me find somebody to run it. So, you know, my whole career, I was just a business voyeur. I never really ran anything. But, and that's how, you know, with conversation with Bud, we wound up talking to a number of people and wound up, actually, let's say, I think it was Hunter who suggested you ought to talk to Walter Smiley. He came down from Fayetteville, and after talking to him for maybe 4 minutes, I said, how would you like to run this company? Because he was so damned impressive. It was so clear, and I, you know, talked this over a few months. I talked to a number of people, and he was so clearly the most, you know, he was one of the most well-organized, thoughtful people I ever met. And I said, I think I'll put my money right here. And that's, you know, I thought of the name, and I think really, as far as management and creativity, Walter did everything else, and that was my normal division of labor in these companies. So
I'm not sure about Hunter in this role, but Walter certainly was, and Jim Gaddis, and I think Grundle. These guys were IBM alumni.
That's correct.
Yeah,
they all did.
Yeah. What was that on purpose, or was that just what was the reason for that? And I know there were a lot of companies started back in those years by IBM alumni.
Well, you know, I think that, you know, Walter kind of described it. You know, IBM had, you know, had the engineering people, and you know, and I can't remember if Walter was actually in sales or engineering, but he, you know, there was the engineers that made things work. And typically, I think IBM's modus operandi was to sell computers, and they, I wouldn't say they overpromised. I just say they under-delivered. But either way, normally what they sold you was whatever you would buy, which, you know, and I think, you know, Walter, Dan Grundle particularly, knew how to actually utilize computer power. And so in selling the typical bank, they typically had, courtesy of IBM, a lot more equipment than they needed. And so they had excess computer power, which means wherever we found could establish a center, we had room to sell more business.
I think my answer to that question, Collins, would be Walter worked with every one of these guys in some form or fashion over the years.
That's right.
And he knew their capabilities. You know, Jim Gaddis, Oklahoma City. Dan was another place. Hunter was at NBC in Pine Bluff. And then there's another guy came on board called J.C. McChristian. He was not a data processing man at all. He was strictly an accountant.
Yep.
And he did an excellent job. He was Semper Fi. So, anyway, he was interesting.
Yeah.
But that's my take on that.
Well, some of the, you know, I think Walter was key in it, and one of the things I always remember about Jim Gaddis, who was one of the most detailed people I ever knew, and I would say a little bit of control freak. Because
I worked for him.
And so he was chief operating officer at Systematics, and I remember we had hit $20 million in revenue, which is, you know, in today's dollars, that's 200 million. But then it's, you know, $20 million, dollars worth a lot more. And we came in for annual talk about the budget and how we'd done against the budget. We operated against, you know, I never believed much in projections. I like to have them, but you know, budget is what's counted. What are we going to do this year? And so our budget was, and my figures aren't accurate, but the numbers are pretty accurate. In a sense, we did 20 million in revenues, and he had a budget of 20,400,000. And Jim was so apologetic because he missed the budget by $400,000 out of 20 million.
Yeah.
And Jim, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just keep going. And we've been going pretty rapidly, but he was so detailed. We really had to kind of change things as time went on because he was going to blow up because he had to have control of everything. So we had to change that a little bit and to get from 20 million to in 200 and 400 million in revenue. So, but it was a great experience, and the people that are here, those early people at Systematics, they built a great company. I mean, it was,
We were able to hire a lot of great people. We started out with 12 people from operations at Union Life, plus myself and Walter, which made 14.
mm-hmm.
And out of the 12 people, the first 2 years of Systematics, there were only 4 of us left. But after that, the nucleus of people that came in, and Dudley and Colin Joggman attest to this, we kept some good people. Mm-hmm. We were able to challenge them and keep them and pay them, and that's how Systematics really got started.
There were a number of competitive companies that did similar stuff. National Share Data comes to mind, EDS, obviously. What was it that made Systematics be able to be stable and continue to grow?
I can answer that. The systems that Bud and you all created actually ran to end of job. You guys couldn't quite do that. And I remember because we used to get on our little twin engine beach bearing and fly all around the country, and I'd go along a lot of these early sales calls because this is Systematics, but Steve would think we had a public balance sheet that looked better. A banker understood that. Yeah. And but they would say, well, EDS, computer sciences, these guys are really good. They're Dallas, California, and you said, look, here's the test you run, is will their system, we'll take your bank records and everything, and we'll run your work on our system, and we'll be able to do that over a weekend and show you that ours will run the end of the job. Do that with theirs and see what happens. And anybody that did that signed up with Systematics because ours did run the end of job.
We got a question up there.
I have a question. You started a company for financial institutions from scratch. Do you remember how long it took from the time you said, we're going to do this, till you rolled out a beta site, your first site? Was that 6 months? Was that a year? How long did it take you?
When we're going to do what?
To roll out your first beta site?
Roll out the first site. Other than Union Line, other than the nucleus of the Union Line system, is that what you're saying? The first system, that would have been the First National Bank of Federal.
Yeah, which is where Walter worked.
Yeah, where Walter Smiley worked, the First National Bank of Federal, was our first site. It was our first site, but then right after that, the first Arkansas bank in Jacksonville, we processed them out of Little Rock, out of the Little Rock Center. Mm-hmm. So the commercial data center, which was the insurance center with a lot of commercial business, started doing banking at that time. But Fayetteville, and when did you go to Fayetteville, Dudley?
Oh gosh.
So Dudley was a Fayetteville manager at one time.
Yeah, for a few years. Let me just say a couple of things because y'all kind of hit on a point.
Speak up a little louder, Dad.
I got my engineering degree at Fayetteville, and I was thinking about going and getting an MBA. And my mother said, there's a guy named Hunter Gamble down at the bank in Pine Bluff. Why don't you go talk to him? So I went and talked to Hunter Gamble, and he said, well, the Stevens are trying to think about starting a new company. When you get out of school, call me back, and if we've got it going, I'll see if I can't get you an interview. So I did, and you and Walter Smiley interviewed me down at Stevens. You probably don't remember that, but I remember it because you had lunch for me, and I never had a lunch that nice. It was good.
Well, we had a great cook. That's fun.
Well, the software for banks, there was software for banks that already existed. Is that not true?
Yes, but not very good.
Right.
It was very poor software.
Yeah.
But the point of when did you have something that would run, that where you could have a customer, you could kind of cobble that together back then.
Right, it was, we installed the 360, the IBM 36030 in 1971, I believe. So that's when we started, of course, everything was written in COBOL.
I didn't know much COBOL. I really don't, but,
I'm gonna add my own Hunter Gamble story.
oh,
Hunter took me down to Pine Bluff one time, drove me around, showed me different things in his life, and he took me out to this place where he said he'd had a picnic with Walter Smiley. And that from Hunter's viewpoint, he was the salesperson, and he felt like Stevens would never give him $400,000 or an amount of money to run a company, but they might give Walter that money with him. And so his picnic was to convince Walter that this was a good deal, that he should quit his job and start this company.
well.
Was the initial investment $400,000?
I don't want to put up all at once, our commitment, we committed $400,000.
Okay.
All the money that went into Systematics before it went public was $400,000.
Okay.
That was it.
Wow.
And then, eventually our piece of the Stevens piece of the board, we had, when we started it, we gave a 20% interest to the original. We set aside 20% for options and investment funds.
And for us.
Yeah. A little bit for me.
I want you to know I invested $400.
For me, a whole bunch for you.
Well,
But I don't know how much you invested, but I invested $400.
yeah. But anyway, that
Oh, 500.
That 400,000 eventually became $4 billion.
Yeah, I know. It was good.
Took a long time, but that was through the involvement, including, it actually became $4 billion when Alltel merged with, what's the big, Verizon. But it was a successful investment.
Well, a lot of people nowadays that we are exposed to have an interest in creating companies. What kind of guidance over the years came from Stevens? What role did Stevens play? And I know you were really the agent that did that. But what did you ask of them and measure of them that contributed to how successful it ended up being?
Well, I think one thing we always did, and I always worked on a lot, is set a plan and stick to it. And I was involved in a lot of startup companies. One of the typical things that happens, you wouldn't want to start a self-driving car company. Some people are doing that nowadays, and maybe that's not initially critical to the business. But I always felt we should stay in any business, startup, you need to narrow your focus to what is required to be successful. And keep that focus narrow until you really accomplish the maximum of what you can do with that, and then look for other things to do. And so that's kind of what we did.
Thank you for allowing us to give you our story. Appreciate you.